What's going on, guys? Cody here with Dangle Nation. Chances are you just got LiveScope. You're a little confused. I'm here to clear the air for you. Let's jump into today's video. Let's break down what you're seeing on your screen, guys. Let's go. All right, guys, let's jump into the screen now. I want to go through a couple scenarios that are common that we see. So one of the most common questions that we get is, what am I seeing? What is on the screen here? What am I seeing on the screen? So I want to do my best today to break down some of the most common scenarios and the most common looks that we see on LiveScope while we're out on the water. So what I have here is I've strung together a bunch of clips. And I'm going to kind of break them down. I'm going to kind of go over them. So starting with our first clip here, this is just a standard. I want y'all to know exactly what a crappie looks like. So on screen, crappie usually don't move. They're usually very stationary animals. They usually sit very still until you spook them. If you spook them or you touch them, they bolt like lightning. And then when in the inverse, an opposite scenario is when they are schooled up and they are moving. So during the spawn, those couple of days or weeks that they're spawning, they can get into these big schools, and that's when they're kind of meandering through, but they're still kind of slow, kind of lackadaisical. So this first clip here, I'm just gonna hit play on it. You'll see above it is my jig, and then the fish is the blob on the 20-foot mark. So you can see here the jig went right over that fish, and nothing really happened. The fish didn't move. This wasn't a catch. But as you can see, the fish is on the 20-foot mark and the fish is not moving, but my lure is moving. So I'll play it back for you again. And my lure gets there right over it. It drifts, nothing happens. That's a non-reactive fish. That doesn't mean that the fish is not catchable. As I've said in several videos, sometimes suspended crappie get in this catatonic state where they just kind of sit there. There's been times where we cast to a fish 12, 13, 14 times in a row. But through the magic of editing, you don't really see all that because a lot of y'all think it's boring. So I give y'all the action-packed clip, but the reality of the situation is this is a prime example of what a singular floating nice sized crappie looks like. So video clip number 2 here. So what video clip number 2 here, this is a very standard brush pile scenario. This is what it's going to look like if you're fishing around the June, July, August time frame. This is when you get hot water. This is when the fish have all spawned out. They've pushed back out. This is middle of the year. This is also the time of year that you need a boat. I won't lie to you. So that's beside the point. So anyway, let's take a look at this clip. I'm going to hit play here. So you can see on the left side, we have a bunch of suspended fish. Now, there is also a very old and tree there. So there's very faint branches, but there's a ton of fish sitting on this pile right here. And then to the right, we have the very, very dense, very obvious structure. So that's probably like the root ball, or it's a different structure altogether. You can see that on the left side, there's a bunch of suspended fish, but particularly what I want you to look at is the top of the right structure. The one that I'm circling right here, that one is a dandy, good-sized, singular fish. So this is what a brush pile, a submerged brush pile looks like. Now, I want you to take note, this pile starts at 18 foot and goes all the way to 34 foot in width. So it's a very sizable structure. But this, if you need to screenshot it, now's the chance. This is what a brush pile, a thick brush pile looks like that has fish in and around it. So if I pull out here just a little bit, as I'm zooming out here, you'll notice on that 12-foot mark, you can see on that 12-foot mark right there, there is actually a singular fish out there at 12 foot. That is the one that if you were in a tournament, if you were trying to get a PB or whatever, that's the fish that you're gonna wanna go after. That is the Mac Daddy. But you can also see in this clip, that fish, he's just chilling. He's just hanging out. He's not really moving. So that's what a brush pile setup would look like, or this is what a brush pile looks like. And the technique I would use at this pile would be a pendulum. I'd cast past it to that like 36-foot mark. I would swing into the pile and over the pile. And if my head was the pile, you know, I'd swing through, up, over, down, and those fish, for the first 1 or 2 passes, then those fish will come up, they'll attack it, kind of like you see at the end of this video right here, and you deck flip a dandy. So let's go on to clip number 3. All right, guys, so pushing from a brush pile, let's go to standing timber. So this is a prime example of what a standing timber situation looks like. Now, take note, there's a lot of fuzzies in the water around it. So we can see that fish right there at 18 foot, and then obviously the tree is at 16 foot, goes down into the mud. It's the permanent structure there. Now, adjacent to that 16 foot is that blob at 18 foot. That is a singular standalone crappie. Now, Around it, we can see shad. So around that 24 foot mark, around that 14 foot mark, we see little faint shad. Those are swimming around. But particularly on this one, I want you to notice all the fuzzies in the water. Guys, that's like pollen and stuff. This time of year when this was recorded, there was a lot of debris in the water. And so how a LiveScope works is it just sends out sonar and picks up the echo. So anything that it hits and sends back a return, that's going to pick up on your screen. So I've had friends that think, man, this place is loaded with fish, but it's not. It's got some shad, it's got some debris in the water, and I've actually seen that same situation that was actually moss, so moss, pollen, things like that. But let's look at the clip now. The fish, you can see my jig is coming into the fish. The fish again is at 18 foot, and you can see this crappie is suspended off of the structure. Now, when they're like this, keep the jig above the fish, and usually they'll follow you right off the stick and they'll hit it. But they're gonna, whenever people tell you, hey, they're hugged a structure, this is what that looks like. This is a singular crappie hanging out next to a singular structure. Now, this is usually your big dogs. The bigger fish, they're just like deer, they're just like every other animal. The bigger ones like to be on their own. Now, they're very frequently adjacent to, just like on that brush pile, they're frequently adjacent to the main school of fish or the little guys or whatever. But your biggest ones are usually alone on standalone timber like this. This is what it looks like. And on this one, you can see my jig flows through there. No connection on that one, but that's okay. I want y'all to see exactly what we're looking at here. So let's jump into clip number 4 now. Now, clip number 4, this one's gonna be a little bit trickier for you if you're beginning, if you're new to LiveScope, if you're not understanding how it works. But at the 22 foot mark, there is actually a crappie in the mud. Now, when they're in the mud, you're looking for the non-movement, because look, like the fish on the structure, that could be a bass. During like the middle of summer, those could be bass if you're deep enough. The crappie in the mud, you're gonna kind of have to watch them. So a lot of times what we'll look for is they'll rise up out of the mud, and then they'll come back down, and then they'll rise up. They'll be going up and down, but not really back and forth so much. So if you see that, stop and watch them for a second and cast down to him a couple times. And you can see in this clip here, as my jig approaches that fish, he kind of comes off the mud just a little bit. And that's indicative that, hey, this is probably some form of a crappie. He's gonna move slow, and his size. A lot of times in the mud, you get these long blobs. I mean, long ones. Those are usually catfish. When they're in the mud, you wanna look for these little ovular, circular shapes that are not really moving. And you can see here, there we go, we drop down on them. And obviously I connect, and there's the fish. Obviously that's a donkey. But no, seriously, look how small that fish is, and that's how much he showed up on the LiveScope right there. Even at that small, you're still looking for the same signs and situations to catch these fish. Now, the size of the fish will also depend on how far out you have your screen zoomed. So if you're on your LiveScope and you have it out to, like this one's set to 40 foot, we typically scan in the 50 to 60 foot range, and then as we get closer to what to the fish, we kind of zoom in. So this one's at 40, so the fish was a good size. If we'd have gone down to like 20 foot, it would look huge on the screen. Or if we backed out to like 60, he wouldn't look that big. So for fish in the mud, it takes a lot more practice. I would get through all the other stuff first and then try to find fish in the mud. It can be very difficult. So drop in the comment section at this point if you've learned something, and then we're going to push on to clip number 5. All right, guys, clip number 5 now. We're going to move into clip number 5 here. And before we get there, I want to let y'all know that today's episode is brought to you by Outlaw Crappie Poles. Y'all check them out at fishoutlaw.com. Use code Dangle Nation to get 10% off of your next order and every order. I just got resupplied with my new 12 and 14 foot poles, so make sure to smash the subscribe button because those videos are coming down the pipe. All right, let's jump into clip number 5 here. Clip number 5, I picked this one specifically for what is on the bottom. You can see on that last 1 foot of water column there in this clip specifically, you can see in that last 1 foot clip all that stuff on the bottom, and this is what gets most people confused. Drop in the comment section if you know what that is. I'll wait. Okay, I'm not gonna wait that long. That is shad. That is all gizzard shad running down at the bottom. How do I know this? Many moons ago, I saw the same scenario and I dropped down. I'm like, man, these crappie will not bite. So I threw my cast net, and guys, we pulled up about 700 gizzard shad, and that's what this looks like. And to show you the difference, the very bottom, that's all shad, But look up there in the middle of the water column, fast approaching that, my jig is fast approaching that fish that's suspended. Now that suspended fish is a crappie. Now how do we know that that's a slabby patty? I'm gonna hit play in real time here and you'll see that fish is not moving. You see how that fish is completely suspended? He's completely just hanging out above the shad. Now, boom. Right there, I hit them with my jig. So the fish, that's what I was talking about. Once you hit them, they're usually gone. So I hit that fish with the jig. Now, luckily, he only went down about 10 feet, and he stopped, and we dropped back down on him. So this is a prime example. Suspended fish is a crappie. All the stuff at the bottom, you can see, I'll play it again. All the stuff moving around at the bottom, that's all shad. So don't get these confused. A lot of people see that shad because what can happen is that shad, that look right there, can take up the whole LiveScope screen certain times of the year, especially in shallows. And you'd be like, man, we're covered in shad. I mean, man, we're covered in crappie. But you're not. You're covered in shad. The crappie is the big dog up top. Now, you can find them usually inside the shad too. That's when you're going to look for the fish that's not moving. So that's clip number 5. Okay, so clip number 6, we're gonna move away from crappie because a lot of times crappie and white bass, they kind of follow each other in with what they do. So this clip here is from earlier, like way early in the season. So what you're looking at here, this is a ton of whites and hybrid bass. Now, typically they're moving all over the screen. They're going real fast. I couldn't find a clip of that. If I find one between now and when we edit this, I will overlay it right here. But anyway, this clip was because we were fishing for them. Is the only reason I know, and we were catching them. But this is what hybrids and white bass look like, and I'll play it in real time. You can see that they hang out. They're schooled up. Now, their school is real spaced out. That is very indicative of whites or hybrids. Every time we see them, the school's usually spaced out, and they're usually coming across your screen at about 300 miles an hour. But we caught them really early in the morning right here, really early in the season, and they weren't really moving that much. So I said, well, let me make a video of this because this is fantastic footnotes for the video. Now, I have not personally figured out why you see these sonar returns are kind of tall as opposed to long. I'm not sure why I was doing it that day. Maybe something with the electronics, I don't know, but I can tell you that we stopped, we fished these, and it was a ton of white bass, and there was some hybrids mixed into those. I'll put a picture right here of that donkey of a hybrid I caught right there. So that's what you can expect to see with whites. And again, if I can find the correct overlay, I will put it here of what it looks like when they're schooled up running through the screen. If you ever watch our videos and hear us talk about the bullies are here. We talk about the whites because they just come in like a big mob and they're here and then they're gone. So all right, that's what those look like. Now, okay, so clip number 7 here is a standalone small structure, and the reason I put this in here is because a lot of people skip over small structures. Guys, on the on the side imaging scan, because that's how we find all these piles and stuff, is we use 2D, or we use side imaging first. We go over what we think is fish and then we pull back around. So often I see people miss one big boulder, one root ball, one tree that was cut off. All of the lakes in the state of Texas were man-made except for one. Drop in the comment section if you know which one it is. So all of them are man-made. So what that means is there's a lot of trees that were felled. They came in there with chainsaws and just dropped them. So you have these stumps that are down there in the water, and so many people go past them. Well, this clip right here is a prime example of why you don't. This is actually a very small stump, and it's one of those situations where if you're on the north side of the stump with your sonar looking at it, it shows up very clearly. But if you're on the south side looking at it, there's so much buildup that you can't really notice it, which is the angle we have now. So just from fishing this lake so much, we know that this is a stump. But either way, you can see there's 2 fish hanging out right here on this stump. So what we did is we dropped down to them right here, and you can see as we approach the stump, my jig's going to get down there. Those fish are sitting right there, and then I'm going to come across them in a typical pendulum technique. Y'all know if you've watched the channel long enough, my favorite technique is a pendulum, and I think it's what makes so many fish react because that tail gets in motion. So we're going to come across that pendulum like that. That fish is going to rise off of that stump like you saw right there. We're going to set the hook, and look at that, guys. We're going to pull up a slabby patty. So do not discredit small structure. Let me rewind it right there and show you again. Jig just got to the fish. The fish is above that piece of structure. And then right there, the fish rises up. Right there rises up. And you can see underneath the fish is the piece of structure. And it actually turned out there was another fish right there too. So don't pass small structure. All right, guys, clip number 8. Got a little bonus feature for you. Something I learned about a month ago. I was up in a creek and I was like, man, what? Look at it. I zoomed in. I had to take a picture of this for y'all. I made a video specifically for the channel. I was looking at this and I was like, man, what is this? This is a piece of structure. It's in a river. It's in a river channel. There's tons of trees. But anyway, look at these long blobs. Here's what's interesting to me. They were all vertical like this. Like right here, and then up here at the 30-foot mark, and then there was one kind of faint right here, and I was like, what the heck is going on? I couldn't understand it. I didn't know what it was, so then I dropped down there, and bam! Look at that! That's what a bunch of alligator guards look like. So I didn't know what that was until about a month ago, and I want to show y'all. But let me rewind the clip. Yeah, look at that. That's those fish. And now the thing was, I was dropping on them, 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 and it did not do. They didn't do anything. They didn't react. They weren't looking at it. What keyed me into it was, I finally got close enough to one, dropped directly on him. And I hooked the side of him, and I felt how tough it was, and I said, oh, I think I know what these are. And so then I did it again, but the fish didn't like it, and he bit, and there we go, right there, boom, alligator gar. Just like that. So, guys, I hope that you learned something in this video. Quick one this week. The weather, guys, I had to make a video like this week because for the past 2 weeks here in Texas, we have had straight gale force winds and a little bit of honesty here. The spawn is on. They're up in the shallows. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. The weather has not been helping us out at all. So the weather's been real tricky. We've been getting these like 30s and 40s at night, and then these like 80s during the day. So these fish like come up to spawn, and then they're like, oh, it's too cold, and then they push back out. So we got this weird weather going on, as well as the wind. I mean, the wind right now is, according to my wind chart, gusting like 22 miles an hour. So I wanted to at least bring y'all some educational content, and hopefully, guys, hopefully this helps y'all know what you're looking at on your LiveScope. I know I didn't cover every fish here, so let me know in the comment section below if there's a specific type of fish that you want to see. Maybe I can make a short about it, or we can make a whole video about it, whatever y'all want to see. I make these videos for y'all, and I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. Hey, if you think this video helped you out, please feel free, send this to a friend that you think it'll help them out. Drop in the comment section that you appreciate it, and most importantly, make sure you smash that subscribe button, guys. It means more to us than you know when you hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to that 5K mark as fast as possible so we can keep on growing, guys. Again, sincerely appreciate each and every one of y'all. Check out this playlist right here, guys, and you know, we'll catch y'all on the next one. Don't stop the dangle. Peace.